Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the AI-driven Enterprise Podcast. I'm your host, Arvind Rajan from Astute Business Solutions. I'm excited to have Wade Broyles, Regional Vice President of AI Data Platform from Oracle with us. Welcome, Wade.
Glad to be here, Arvin. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure having you on board, Wade. You and I have worked together for a number of years now on a number of different sales opportunities. We've had meetings with customers, we've discussed strategies. What I was hoping to share with our audience today was your unique perspective as a sales leader in Oracle AI Data Platform and how you take complex cloud capabilities and translate them into real world outcomes for Oracle customers. A lot's going on in the world of AI, as we both know, and our customers are looking for guidance and help. In some cases, they are looking to be led. In other cases, they're just looking for an assist when they have enough capabilities on-prem. But one thing that's clear with all of our customer conversations is that this is a new area. This is definitely something that customers want to do something about. A lot of top-down pressure in some of our customer organizations, as you have seen, where they feel the need to do something. And this is not one of those things that's a fad that seems to go up and then go away in a couple of years. This looks like AI is going to stay around for a while, and it's going to present a lot of great opportunities, create disruptions, and the ones who manage to survive all of this and come out at the other end are certainly going to be winners. So we just wanted to bring you on and talk about what you think is going on in the market, what are customers hearing, and what sorts of questions or problems are customers bringing to you and your team that they need help with.
Yeah, that's awesome. You nailed it as the intro. It does feel very top down, and we see a lot of the CIOs, CTOs kind of pumping the brakes and slowing down. There's a lot of customers that are engaged in pilots right now, and those pilots consist of maybe some of the low-hanging fruits, like how do I use AI or natural language queries to optimize a website in multiple languages. Like we would consider that maybe some of the easy stuff. I think maybe some of the harder challenges are how do we make it more robust. The big concern and where everybody's pumping the brakes is how do I govern this thing? What is this thing going to spit out? Is it going to be externally facing, pulling from sources outside of our internal networks? Is it how do I credential it? Meaning I don't need somebody asking for HR data that isn't
Mhm.
theirs. And so there's a real big key around the governance aspect of it. And everybody's trying to figure out, okay, yes, we want to adopt AI. And we talked about some of those easier use cases. A couple of really good use cases that we see right now are like in HR specifically, where some of our customers, agencies, and departments are looking to try and streamline some of their hiring needs, right? And so you put out this application for a job rec, and you may get 120 applicants to this specific job. Instead of sorting through 120 different resumes just to figure out who is qualified or who isn't, we have AI through scripts and prompts go through and look, okay, if the minimum qualifications is 3 to 5 years of IT experience, does this candidate even meet that? So it's doing some of that maybe background discovery on the surface, and then it's presenting a handful or culling through some of those folks that, may have been in finance or marketing, and now they want to get into IT and they have zero IT experience. It's culling some of those out to give us a good starting point. But what we see is, I think the industry sees AI as AI with human off the loop, and
Mhm.
the business is saying AI with human in the loop or human on the loop is where we're seeing it trend these days.
Yeah, I think we are in that phase of AI where human in the loop is a must until we build that trust factor with our customers, until they get comfortable with the solutions, understand how AI behaves and responds to their applications, prompt, and so on and so forth. I can relate to that HR use case, Wade, because this has come up in conversations that I've been having with several customers, not only in state and local, but in other industries. And one of the reasons why they're looking to AI is, of course, to solve the volume problem. Like you said, hundreds of resumes for a single job application, which means the cycle time for hiring is much longer now, right? What could be done in a few weeks is taking 3 to 6 months to just fill one position. A lot of our customers are struggling with those long lead times for hiring. And by then, the candidate may not be interested or may have accepted another job offer. So that's one. The second part is they are looking for ways to reduce human bias in that initial qualification process. Not to say that AI cannot have its own biases. Yes, that's a different topic and we have to address that. But there are ways to put guardrails in place and ground the AI in some meaningful customer specific contexts to do that. But I think shrinking the time cycle for hiring, reducing human bias, and then getting qualified candidates straight into that next round so that they can start interviewing, I think that's a huge value add.
I agree.
The other thing way that I'm seeing, which I'm sure you and your teams have come across, as a matter of fact, last year at an event, you and I were talking about a customer that had large volumes of documents where they were assigning one or more resources just to create electronic copies of those documents and then put them in an archive. Now, in government, they process hundreds of thousands of documents, maybe millions of them, and they're required to store all of these. They cannot just purge them like some other customers can do based on regulatory requirements and other such things. What's been the pain point there, as I understand it from customers, is that one, the actual processing of the document itself, storing that document, and then having the document, but not really being able to do much with it. You're spending a lot of time looking for information. Have you seen that come across? And do you have any thoughts on how AI could potentially help them with that?
Yeah, and it plays into what we're doing here from a company perspective at Oracle. We introduced multi-cloud, maybe in Oracle terms, like its own multi-cloud meaning, right? And I think on the surface, people look at it and they say, okay, multi-cloud, awesome. You guys can run Oracle workloads in hyperscaler X. And what we do is we take it one step further. And on the surface, that's absolutely right. You can run your Oracle databases wherever you please. And it should be noted that cloud still contains private cloud as well. But some of the power of what you were mentioning with that documentation, how to think differently, is something that I feel like our customers, anyways, have struggled with for a really long time, which is how do we create this sharing model without having to create all of these different letters of agreement or sharing letters that we have within government entities? And so, what we've really helped people understand is multi cloud gives you the ability to access what we consider is probably our crown jewels right now, which is our data platform, right?
Mhm.
And more specifically, AI Lakehouse and what that entails. And so you talk about that same exact document. Typically, what happens is, hey, I need access to this document. Okay, I'll share you a copy of it. I'm not going to give you access to this database because either A, I don't have the agreement in place, or B, I don't trust you, and I don't have a way to govern your access going forward. And so what multi-cloud does is it gives you portability and flexibility to leverage the power of the tooling within the Oracle database wherever you so choose. And so what's really important about that is if we think about this data sharing initiative, I'll give you a copy of the data that does no good. So we start
Mhm.
talking about data validity. How stale is this data? As soon as I send you a copy from department A to department B, it's stale a minute later, right? As soon as the next update hits or as soon as the next record is written. And so what we've started to do is leverage these zero ETL tools within Autonomous Database that allow for a good AI foundation, right? Oftentimes customers come to us and say, hey, Wade, we want to do AI. Awesome. Let's take a step back. How's your data strategy? And oftentimes they say, it's not very good. Okay, our AI strategy is probably not going to be very good either. It's going to follow the adage, good data in, good data out, bad data in, bad data out, right? It's that trustworthiness of AI as we do natural language prompts and as we do queries to specific requests. But what this tool set that we've talked about that's comprised and we've productized it as AI Lakehouse, and you can't just go to the marketplace and buy an AI Lakehouse. It's a sum of a lot of parts that make up the total umbrella of a product suite, if you will. But we start talking about this, what it does is it brings data governance. It showcases data lineage. It does data qualification, data discovery. It shows you this data looks like it should be classified in a specific widget or a specific manner, right? So when you can start to do that and you can start to understand your data, that's a really good foundation. And then the second part of that is who has access to what, where, and when. And the beautiful thing about this whole solution, as we talk about top level or top line AI, is it doesn't have to be on an Oracle database to leverage these tools. We help customers take SQL workloads to Google BigQuery using our tool sets. right? So as we start talking about getting a more streamlined manner, this is going to be really big for think about your big states that have centralized IT. Think about your big cities and counties or your locals that have like a centralized IT that manages a bunch of departments and decisions, whether it's an enterprise ERP system or whether it's an enterprise security portfolio. We can now give those centralized agencies the ability to take advantage of a broader data strategy. And all of a sudden now, does state of X have 15 petabytes of data? How much of that data is duplicative? So can we shrink this data footprint and allow for those data sets, regardless of format, to start to interact with one another?
Yeah, let's unpack that. There's a lot of good information in there, Wade. And I'm not surprised that you're bringing this up because this is something that came up in the last two podcasts that I did. Data lineage, data governance, duplicate locations for the same data file. And customers are finding it hard to get a hold on this stuff, right? Now, master data management, as we know, is not new. It's been around for a while, but it's been unwieldy in the sense that the tools and technologies that have been available have not really moved the needle a whole lot with our customers. So part of it, I think, is technology. Part of it is managing change and having the data governance strategy that you're talking about. Completely agree. Based on our experience of implementing AI solutions, data governance has to be in place before you start implementing AI. As you and I are sitting here and talking about this now, and I think about all the other conversations we're having, what I feel is that all of these customer problems fall into three, four, or five large buckets. Documents is one, unstructured sources that require a data lake house, right? Documents being part of it, but it could be many other types of data. You obviously have the structured data sources with Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, open source databases, so on and so forth. And then there's always the need for automation and doing more with automation tools and less with manual tools. Now, what I like about what you just said and what Oracle's positioning for this is customers don't have to immediately worry about sending their data out of their private enterprise network out into the open world so that AI can consume it. So that zero ETL thing is really important, where AI can act on the data wherever the data resides today. It's not even a prerequisite to move it to cloud. If you are in an on-prem data center, i.e. private cloud, AI can connect to your private cloud and still deliver the advantages and outcomes that you're looking for.
100%. That's the message. And I think the industry today says, give me all your data in my warehouse or lakehouse, and I'll make it really awesome.
Yeah.
I bet you will. Like you're not a real data company if you couldn't do that. But
Sure.
that's not practical. Like you may have a customer that runs SAP for an ERP system that's back-ended with SQL database or an open source database. And then they may also run custom travel application or transportation application. And then they may have a separate grants management system. At some point, all of that data that's back-ended by disparate databases could be really relevant without having to export specific tables out of one application and then export out of multiple
Yeah.
applications and then combine it to one to then do your manual analysis. What if you could have those three databases join seamlessly and ask your questions needed in natural language? That's the power of AI. I'm not asking it to go out to the web. I'm asking it for my enterprise data. How do I merge that data to become more efficient? And today, what we find is let's take a CFO, for example. He says, I need this report on budgets versus actuals for this February versus last February. Okay, cool. I'll add it to the queue. I'll start to generate my reports. I'll get all the data. I'll clean it up. And then I'll
Mhm.
send it back to you in 7 to 10 business days. Well, that's already 10 business days old
It's
data.
old. Yeah.
I envision a world where AI allows us to say, give me budgets versus actuals, this February versus last February. The CFO can actually write that as a natural language prompt and it pulls it up for him within 15 seconds. That's the power of having all of this data consolidation or this data lakehouse structured together is it allows for faster decision making and maybe better quality of job even, right? I saw a meme yesterday that was pretty funny, completely wrecking the podcast here, but maybe some comedic humor that AI could never reproduce my 300-yard slice on the golf course, right? So I'm safe. And I think that's a little bit of the fear is, do I really want to adopt AI because it's just going to take my job? What if it could make your job better? And that's the power of the autonomous database, for instance. Do we really want to patch the database every single Tuesday or every other Tuesday? What if I could give you your Tuesday evenings back? What if I could give you your Saturday mornings back instead of doing upgrades? Now you can go play golf or you can go be with your family or you have one less thing to worry about. And so it almost leans into the quality of life discussion too.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot about assurance, right? When you have these autonomous capabilities and it allows you to just free up your time and focus on other things. Everybody's got a long list of to-dos in their work life and their personal lives that they're always chasing. And I think there's also a fundamental shift in data warehousing and data lakes with the introduction of AI. The traditional model of not only Oracle database, but if you think about Snowflake, Databricks, and all these other guys, everybody is doing exactly what you just said. Give me all your data, and we have these powerful tools that we can bring in and massage your data, and then we can connect you to one of many reporting layers, and you can do that. But then everybody wants you to be trapped in their ecosystem. Whereas what AI wants to do is the exact opposite. It's like break free of all of these silos and just have AI go in and consume the data wherever it is. At the end of the day, you care about the outcome, not about how long it takes you to move your data from point A to point B. I want to switch topics and talk a little bit about just how customers are adjusting to this new world, right? For the last 8 to 10 years, we've been talking to customers about migrating to cloud, building disaster recovery, analytics in the cloud. And of course, we've also been showing customers why Oracle Cloud is the best place to run Oracle applications, Oracle database workloads, and so on and so forth. We know that a lot of our customers are still on-prem, right? It's not because cloud is not great or not capable. They have various reasons for still being on-prem. We also know that a lot of our customers are still using on-premise ERP products like PeopleSoft, EBS, JD Edwards. And surprisingly, year on year, they're still on that platform. Oracle's continuing to extend that support deadline for them. Do you see a path for them with AI where they can see modernization in their enterprise applications, in their enterprise databases, with or without moving to cloud?
Absolutely. And again, not being too oracly in the podcast, but there are several tools and introductions and industry solutions that we take advantage of. And most importantly, in a conversation that we have almost every week with someone with a different customer is around our low code, no code solution. We call it Apex,
Mhm.
Application Express, where it's something that where we have like a universal cloud connector plug in to a specific application to make it better, right? Every application gets you a really good 80% coverage, 90% coverage, 95% coverage, depending on the industry. But then there's certain topics, whether it's unions or grants or budgeting or different things that are unique to that specific customer that maybe out of the box a SaaS or an application on premise couldn't do. We're helping people with that. And then two, if we back up and we just say, okay, let's assume that we do have maybe some of the power of AI and specifically why Oracle, we've got to talk about the price per performance of computations or the speed to computations, right? If we think about some of the competitors in the space, they pay per usage, right?
Mhm.
And if a transaction takes 30 seconds versus if you can compute it a lot faster and it takes 15 seconds, right? There's a price associated with that transaction if we want to really boil it down. And so we're seeing really good TCOs and ROIs of up to 30 and 40% cheaper when we look at an AI lakehouse versus maybe some of the competitors. If we can compute faster, we can give faster time to query or faster time to result. Therefore, I'm paying less for this
Mhm.
transaction. And we
Mhm.
want to start talking about making multiple agents take decisions and orchestrate and architect decisions for us off of subsets of data. Nothing starts without that data strategy. Your AI doesn't start. A good analytics practice doesn't start. I think a really good tagline for Oracle specifically is a lot of companies are saying, hey, we've got this really awesome AI widget. Bring your data to our AI widget and we'll make it awesome. And Oracle, again, we flip that notion on its head and we want to take the AI to your data. What does that
Mhm.
mean? We're desilotizing the AI sphere. And that's the next evolution of this. Each organization is going to have 17 to 20 different AI specific widgets that somebody has to manage, that somebody has to govern, that someone has to provide data to. How much of that data is duplicative? Where is that data going? Is it classified? So as we start to really boil down, like why would we even consider Oracle for this strategy? Let's get the data into a queryable state. Let's get governance and lineage taken care of in the AI lakehouse. And then let's provide really good AI results or non-AI results, right? Even if it's just leveraging your analytics platform of choice, Tableau, Power BI, whatever it is, right? It all points back to how's your data strategy?
Yeah, very true. Good point, Wade. One other thing that I was thinking of was that the conversations, of course, there's the paradigm shift in technology and how customers look at data movement, data warehouses, and other things we spoke about. But I'm also seeing a shift in the types of conversations and the people that we're having conversations with on the customer side. Traditionally, cloud and database and application related conversations would start and oftentimes end with IT. So you'd start with the CIO's or you'd go down a couple of levels depending on the type of conversation. And a lot of the decisions around technology and infrastructure would be made by that org, and they would then liaise with their business counterparts. What we are seeing with AI is that the actual conversation starter is the business persona, and IT comes on as an enabler. How are you seeing that play out when you go out and meet customers, and how is that changing the dynamic of this whole thing?
Yeah, we've got a couple really good use cases going in the Rockies right now where we're doing exactly that. It's some of the smaller locals that don't really have a robust IT shop. They've
Hmm.
got someone that was closest to the computer got assigned the IT director role, and the thought process and the secure process and all the things that a traditional, maybe a computer science engineer would have at his discretion as he's applying for that job aren't there. If we know anything about Oracle, we've always done data pretty well, right? Even back to its inception with the three-letter
Hmm.
agencies. We've done data traversal, data security, data governance. We've done all of that really well. And so it's establishing that trust, establishing that relationship, and then solving a problem. And oftentimes, what we find ourselves doing a lot is, hey, that sounds really awesome. It also sounds really expensive. Is it? What if it's saving 30 minutes a day off of someone's plate? That could be the cost of a full-time employee at some point, right? Let's do a POC. Let's do a proof of concept or a proof of value. We'll build out the use cases. We find ourselves getting into a lot of the engineering or architectural phases of this and showcasing the technology specifically. And every single time, Arvin, it never fails. We'll meet the mark on what the exact ask was. And then they say, wait, I could also use this for
Hmm.
this. And that's absolutely the case. And so if we're coming up with these solutions with big price tags that take budget, that take approvals, that take all these things in it, I don't know if this is really $1 million headache, right? We want to try and get out of the notion that technology doesn't have to be the proverbial give me 10 years and $100 million and I'll give you an awesome solution. We've started to pivot and say, hey, you know what? Give me 30K and 30 days and we'll make you a really cool subset to your widget to solve a business problem. And then they'll keep coming back, hey, I've got this other problem. And that's ultimately what we try and do a lot of times with our newer customers where they don't know us, they don't know how to trust us. Man, we're really struggling with XYZ. Awesome. Let us prove it out for you.
I like that. 30 for 30. That's a
That's
good
it.
way to position it. Customers need these kinds of simplified ways of understanding this and approaching it, which leads to my last question, Wade, which is as you go out and talk to customers about this and they ask you for ways in which they should approach this or get started after an initial discussion, what do you ask them to typically do to get started on their AI journey?
Yeah, again, a lot of it certainly starts with our partner ecosystem, right? And so folks like Astute coming in alongside of us with the expertise. I always use the cheesy example, and I don't remember the insurance company, but it's we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. But that's the thing, right? Like we have a deep expertise and understanding as I cover the central United States, you as well covering the entire United States and seeing a lot of the different things. We can instantly bring credibility to what is or what is not possible. We're not asking customers to fund our research and development department. Oracle spends $60 billion over the last 10 years on R&D for a reason. We've started to bring these capabilities and bring these offerings, and we're just simply walking them through to help checkbox a lot of these things. And a lot of that is just willingness, right? The ask typically isn't a monetary ask, it's a time ask. And that's sometimes a big ask for a smaller resource driven shop. Give me 30 minutes a week. Let's just get started. Let's detail the criteria. Let's formulate a joint execution plan, what you're going to do, what we're going to do. We'll show you how we secure it. And then let's put it into play and see if it actually works for you.
That's awesome. I think that is something that we are seeing resonating with customers. They are looking for advice, they're looking for guidance, they're looking for assistance in the form of POCs or demonstrations. And demonstrations are going to be key for Oracle, for Astute, for everyone, because we can only talk about technology and present slides so much when it comes to AI. You really have to take that use case and say, here's a prototype, here's a solution, here's something that will help you visualize how this flows through from point A to point B. And I think I'll conclude by saying business value, which you mentioned multiple times, Wade, is really where this is at. And customers often may not be able to easily quantify the business value. So they also need help in understanding what that AI solution will drive in terms of impact. Is it lower cost, lower effort? Is it getting you off of siloed systems and into a more modern, advanced way of doing things? But they definitely need help in getting to that end point. And I love being in the role that I'm in. I'm sure you love doing what you do because we are able to guide our customers and walk them through from one point to the other and enable them so that they can then be independent and continue that journey on their own because this is not going to be a one and done type thing anytime soon for sure. Wade, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Your inputs are really grounded in real world customer conversations and the problem statements that they bring to you and your team. I hope the audience would appreciate this perspective, but thank you for being on the podcast. And I hope to have you back some other time, maybe later this year.
Yep. Thank you, Arvin. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.